instead of me driving the car, I want to be sitting in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
And I want somebody else to drive the car, but I want to be able to tell them what it is that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he knows his business better than anybody else. But right now, it's like he's working in the business every single day. He never is really working on the business. Because he's doing this, doing it, and the next you know, weeks and weeks and months go by. And he's been at this for 10 years, he's still getting the same results. So, but anyways, there's a lot of people in a similar situation.
Right.
So I tell them, look, let's create a, like a 5-year game plan. So 2017, this is the, you work backwards.
Okay.
What are you going to do 2016? What are you going to do here? What are you going to do here? That's going to allow you to get here.
Right.
So there's a lot of that type of, now I got 5 people that I'm working with at that capacity. And I charge $1,000 a month. And I work with them, and it's working out pretty good. They're bringing in other students and stuff like that. Now, but for some of the smaller people that just started getting into real estate, that just what they're newbies, they've done 1 or 2 deals or something like that. Then with those guys, I charge them $500 a month. And I said, okay, for that, it's basically, look, you got, like football. You watch football?
No.
You don't know anything about football?
And I was in a band for 4 years. I just know to play when they say play.
Well, look, just like football, right? So it's like you got 4 downs.
Okay.
You got quarter 1, Q2, Q3, Q4.
Okay.
At the end of the year, right? So every football, you got 4 chances to get a first down.
Okay.
Then you got another 4 chances to get another 10 yards, and another 4, and eventually, you're going towards to win, to score a touchdown. Right? Every month has 4 weeks. Right? So every week has a result. Every play has a result. Right? So it's kind of just like football in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Get it?
All right, if you say so.
All right, so some of the newer guys, some of the
Okay.
guys that have done 3 deals or 5 deals or 2 deals, again, it's about creating systems, it's about creating processes, it's about keeping shit organized where it's working for you.
Right.
And through like the smartphones and the PDAs and all this stuff, there's no reason why you can't have all that stuff. You know what I mean?
True.
It's just a matter of just connecting everything and making it work. A lot of people, either they don't know technology or they don't know this or they don't know that, but they're trying to do it all by themselves.
Okay.
Read the book about it and trying to do it. But once you get the right person to do these things, you play rules of the band. You couldn't be the whole band by yourself.
No.
You had team members. And everybody played when they're supposed to play.
Right.
That's how it worked. And the same thing with life. You can't do everything. You got to have the right people around you to do their part. The same thing with business. You get it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyway, tell me what you think of the presentation.
The presentation is interesting. They're definitely going to make a greater impact on people that's their first presentation. Especially because once you look at it, you realize, interestingly enough, it's not really a unique concept in real estate. So that's the first thing that they're going to run into is people are going to want to know exactly how it differs because every company I've ever worked for has had the same concept. Yes.
Every company has paid 6 levels deep.
Realty Direct pays 5 and Prudential pays 5.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is Prudential still around?
Prudential Carruthers. They're actually gaining offices. They're up to 150.
Okay. And who's the Realty Direct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things that if agents have actually looked at presentations for different companies, the smaller companies aren't going to have, I guess, incentive programs, but the larger companies definitely have them. The other thing that is the same is that most of the companies, it's like, okay, well, we're Prudential, well, I was with Prudential Carruthers. They have their 150 offices. It's interestingly enough that when times got hard and like the Prudential in Fort Washington, they bought them out. They stopped. Prudential Carruthers bought out Prudential.
Well, they just bought other franchises.
Yeah, they bought out all the different franchises. That's how they increased their number of offices. And so because they're part of the Prudential network, what they do is, interestingly enough, I don't know if you know Tommy Carruthers, but Brian Carruthers happens to be his brother. So Mr. Carruthers had two sons. One runs Prudential Carruthers. The other one runs the law people.
Okay.
What is their prepaid legal?
Okay.
Which is interesting because every Prudential Carruthers agent gets a free prepaid legal. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
But what they did is they actually expanded their offices, and they expanded, and now they have so many offices that they can actually do the, if you bring agents on to any other Prudential, you still get credit and all of that stuff. So a lot of companies do the team building across the country. Realty Direct does the same thing because, interestingly enough, I believe they started in Florida. So no matter where you bring an agent onto Realty Direct, you still get credit. The thing that they're going to run into issues with is obviously the fact that people take a little bit less for the team building because, like at Realty Direct, we don't.
You don't take what?
They don't cut your individual commission because of team building.
Okay.
And that was one of the first things they stated in their presentation. Is they were like, okay, well, if this person normally got $7,000 from this deal, they would get $6,200, but they also get the money added in from all the other people on their team and everything like that. And that's a great idea, except that some companies, they take the cut on the company side. So, like,
but if you were at one place and let's say you were at a 50-50 split.
I mean, if you're at a 50-50, it's a much better deal.
Right, but if you were at another place where you were, let's say, 100% split, and you go from 100 to a model where you're getting like 87%. But then if you look at, okay, the 100 and then you look at the 87, yeah, there's a difference. But, okay, but that difference is, okay, what do you get for that difference?
Well,
why should I make that switch because I'm going to be losing?
That's the one thing, and that's why I say it depends on which company the agent comes from. Because agents that are coming from a company where they're on a split that's in increments and you have to gain tiers, and sometimes they kick you back a tier if you don't get to a certain place every year and things like that, they're going to be great. Even agents that pay, say, a desk fee. I think that in particular, it doesn't compete with Realty Direct, but it will compete with everybody else.
Okay.
Because, like, I get 105%. So I get my 100%, and then I still get 5% from everybody that's ever been on my team. And I have no desk fee, and my yearly dues is $50, and I don't pay my errors and omissions, and I don't pay my business cards, and I don't pay my lock boxes, and I don't pay my fines. You can't beat that. Like, there's no company that beats that.
Your MRS fees,
I pay that, but it's like, what, $165 every 3 months? So I don't mind paying that, especially because I have an assistant. So I pay mine, I pay my assistant and stuff like that. So that matters to a lot of people if they have to pay that. And then the other thing that matters to a lot of people is their association dues. I don't pay my full association dues. I pay, I think, half of it or something like that. So
okay, so there's benefits there.
Yeah, with traditional companies, Next Stage is definitely going to be a much better deal. Because like I said, if you have a company where you start out at 50% and then you get, like some people might not even make it to 60% by the end of the year.
Yeah, so they drop off, they don't see any results.
Right. They don't, well, what they do is they just switch companies to a company that doesn't have a fee that they're going to have to pay for not making any money. So, because a lot of companies do that. Like, if you don't make any money, you have to pay a fee because now you're just pretty much taking up space and stuff like that. But there are companies that don't do that. So, it kind of depends on where they're coming from as to if it's a much better deal for them. There's always agents all over the area that, like, I have a friend right now, she's going to lose her house and probably her car and everything else because she won't switch companies. She works with a company that makes doing rentals extremely difficult for her. I'm like, rentals are my extra vacation money. You hit Craigslist, you pick up 2 rentals, they're done in 2 weeks. You're like, okay, I can take this money, it's my Vegas money. But if you need that money to pay your actual mortgage and you can't pick up rentals because...
Especially in this market.
Yeah, I mean, she's with a company that's asking her to charge her renters 1 month. Okay, well, if the MLS is offering half a month, you're asking people that have to pay security deposit, move-in, for moving truck, and everything else to kick in another half a month for their realtor. She can't compete with me because I don't charge that.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever the MLS offers, that's what you pay moving forward.
Which is 50%.
50, 40, whatever. It doesn't make me any difference because I'm not going to pay on it regardless. I'm going to get 100% of whatever it is and move on. But for her, like, Next Age would be a great deal. She, interestingly enough, doesn't have the common sense to leave her company. So, like, you're borrowing mortgage money. Like, you're not borrowing extra money. So that's the position some realtors are in. They're actually borrowing mortgage money from their parents or whoever else, and it would be a great deal for them.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so I mean, clearly you're part of this. You had a chance to see this. What value do you see that this has to offer outside of these two production?
Right. If there's a company that they're dealing with, and like I said, that company doesn't have a team building process where they get paid for everything that their team generates for 5 levels, then that is a definite plus for them. Okay. The other thing is, it does go beyond your immediate team, because you have the people that build their team, and it really, that's the dead end of it, because they don't see any reason to add extra people under their team members. So I see them having an advantage with that. But in the end, they're going to lose a certain number of people just because multi-level marketing is multi-level marketing, and realtors tend to avoid it. As a people, they're suspicious of it. So most realtors are like, they get into real estate, interestingly enough, because they don't want to work necessarily with other people. And I'm different in that, and Clint is different in that. And there's a lot of realtors, but I would say only 25% of them want to work with other people.
Well, and you're right, there's a lot of people like that. But what I try to tell people is where things were in 2000 and where things were in 2005 and where we are in 2012, this is a totally different environment. If you don't like working with people, stay the fuck home.
Right.
This is not for you.
Right.
This is where you have to today, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you got to build who you are. You got to work with people. You have to build connections. This is a people business. And if you're not in that environment, then we don't want you anyway. Right. Because you're not a good fit for us. We only want people that's a good fit for the overall structure. Right. And if that means, that you have to get people working is a must, then hey. And then plus this environment, it requires people today to think a lot more. It requires the agents to do a lot more. It requires the agents to roll up their sleeves and really go out there and get the business. Whereas in 2000 here, you didn't have to do anything. You could have just put up a sign and you had buyers coming to you. Right. And people got spoiled in the last 5 or 6 years.
But see, then that's also, I've never been a big listing agent. I'm not big on listings. So to me, there's less work now. Right. Because I don't have to actually fight people to accept my offers. Like, I have to do a listing tomorrow. And I'm only, literally, if I hadn't known this woman for the last 10 years of my life, I would not be listing her house. Yeah. I don't like to do listings, ever. I've never been a
I'll take your listings.
I have to do it. I have to do it.
You take your listings?
I have to. Yeah. And it's one of those things. I'm the reason I told her not to buy the house in the first place, but she bought it.
But see, without listings, people don't last. You gotta have listings in order to last in this market.
But see, that's not true in this market.
Why?
Because in this particular market, if you don't have buyers, you don't last. You can list it all day, and if it sits out there for 600 days, it does nobody any good. You have to find the people to buy it. And that's the problem that a lot of agents are having, is that they've operated under the listing model for their entire career, and now listings are coming out of your ears. You can get listings for free from the federal government. You can get listings from your broker if you're willing to turn on the electricity. Listings will fall on you out of the sky. But if there's nobody available to buy them, it doesn't make any difference. And so that's what a lot of them are having their frustration with now, is because they've always been told, list everything you can. And they're listing it, and they're putting it on the market, and it's just there.
Well, let me ask you a question.
And they're like, what now?
No, I hear you. And I've in the last...
They're starting to move now.
In the last, maybe since late part, before Christmas to now, the last maybe 25, 30 business days, I've spoken with, 30 plus broker owners and agents and people who are producing, as well as people that want to get in the game. Right. So I spoke to all layers of people. But I know one thing, just in terms of business, in terms of logic, right? So if you look at, right now we're in January. Okay, and you got April, you got May, June, July. Right? So this is where really things start to pick up. When the buyers really start to get off the fence, the snow's melting, the rates are low, the leases are about to expire, the kids need to make a change in the school district, whatever the case is. So this is when the buying activity picks up. I know one thing, that just being in business overall, that if I could use this time of the year to get 100 listings or 50 listings or 40 listings, the buyers are going to come. The buyers are going to come. But what you want to do is you want to position yourself now when the buyers do come. Because that's going to happen. I'd rather have other agents that are out there bring the buyers, and I just focus on building inventory. Right now is the time to build inventory. So that's why I said listing, to me, I'll take any listing I can. Because the buyers are going to come. The rates are only going to stay so low for so long.
Right. But see, like, I have buyers now. So...
You don't have any listings?
I got 6 buyers, and I'm
and they're
like,
qualified, ready to go.
They got letters and everything.
Okay, so what's the problem?
That's why I asked you. I was like, do you have anything available for them? They're
looking
right
for
now,
they're looking for remodeled, renovated properties.
Yeah, they kind of want things that are done. You know, most of my buyers right now are people who have done their rehab part. They don't want to do the rehab part right now. They're like, you know what, I've been in investing for the last 15 years. I've done a certain number of rehabs. I have my capital at a certain level. What they want now is just to collect properties. It's what I do. It's what
like
you
a
do.
rental landlord?
Yeah, they're like, hey, like me, my whole thing is I give it 2 years. I'm going to just have to move probably out of the country. I'm like, I can't. My nerves are bad. Like, I spent all day yesterday filing complaints with the Attorney General. So I'm like, listen, okay. And when you have to do that, they're at the point now where I have 2 people. They're like, look, I want to retire. I want to move back to Ghana. I'm like, not a problem. You know, if you have 10 rental properties here, you move back to Ghana, your rent is $700 every 6 months. Or you build something and you have all this cash flow coming in, your retirement is set. You know, you have no problems, you have no issues. So that's one of the things that I'm running into right now is they want houses in a certain price range. But if you look at, they're like, hey, I'm cash, I'm going to buy $150.
These people you're talking about are long-term buy and hold.
Yeah.
Okay, so they want to create wealth.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that.
And I've been working with a few of them for years and years and years. I started when, you know, they first came and said, hey, I want to be a real estate investor. And I'm like, okay, great. 2 of them are at the point now, they're lending out money. So I'm like, good for you. You're doing really good. But it just is one of those things where I think that it's a market where there is no blanket strategy. And so you get people that are like, oh, well, I heard somebody told me to get, you know, as many rehabs done as I can. And then you get people that are like, well, I heard people told me to get as many buy and holds as I can. I'm like, there is no blanket strategy in anything financial. You have to diversify. Customized. Yeah, you have to definitely diversify. And so, like, I have investors right now who are doing their rehabs, like you said. They wanted to have a property by October, so that it could be done and be on the market at the start of spring, because they're like, buying activity is going to pick up. Brand new rehabs done in February, March, April, they're going to start selling. So that's their version of building inventory, where some agents, their version of building inventory is to have the listings. Whereas my version of building inventory is I have the buyers. When the houses pop up that they want, they're sold. So everybody is definitely building inventory right now in preparation for the spring. They're just doing it in different ways. But they're all definitely...
It's all related.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all related.
It's all the same.
But it really goes back down, that's why I say it really goes back down to the individual.
Right.
What is that individual's goal? Is your goal to create wealth, buy and hold long term?
Right.
Is your goal is to buy and flip? Is your goal is to just focus on buyers and generate 1,000 buyers?
Right.
Is your goal is to generate 1,000 listings? What is your goal? Everybody's going to be different. And you can do all across, but you're going to be working 80, 90 hours a week just to get there, right? Or you can have systems. And you can have processes. You can say, okay, well, I want to build a bunch of buyers. Okay, well, how do you do that? I can't do it by myself, but I know how to do it. But if you could create a system where you have 2 or 3 people that are doing that for you, and they go from 0 buyers to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20, some are going to be credit challenged, Some are going to need to go through like a credit clinic to kind of get up to 680. But they might be ready by April or May.
Right.
You said, okay, I'm going to create this department here. I'm going to put one person there, and that's what they're going to focus on. I'm going to focus on expired listings, withdrawal listings, temporary listings for the person here. And they're going to just build on that, go from 0 to 5 to 10 to 20, 30 listings by April, May.
Right.
So you got somebody working on your buyer side. You're automatically going to just run into investors because they're just everywhere.
Right.
So you're going to have some say, I want to buy, I want to go back to Ghana, I want to have 10 properties, 7,000 a month. Fine, we can create a plan for you.
Right.
Then you have the guy, so I just want to rehab.
Right.
Okay, I got a plan for you. So you can have all of these things.
Yeah.
It's a matter of just creating the right systems and the right processes. So it doesn't matter if it's Next Stage or Realty Direct, but the bottom line is all of this is human driven.
Yeah.
It's all people driven, it's human driven. You got to have good people. They got to understand how to work with people, and everybody's gonna have different. Some people are better working with buyers. Some people are better working with sellers. Some people are better working with investors. But you got to create the right team, and that's what it comes down to. The reason I bought Next Age is because of everything that I do on the investment side. I do everything outside of what agents do, but this allows me access to the agents. And it allows me to bring the whole investment world and the retail world, allows me to bring it together and remove any type of barriers. So now the agents will be taught and trained on how to work with sellers, how to get listings, how to work with buyers, how to work with investors that want to buy the home, that want to flip, that want to know about how to do rehab budgets. So the whole thing will come under one roof. So therefore, Next Age, through the system, the agents will get fed listings, they get fed buyers, and then out of there going to be certain deals that I'm going to get. That people may go out, they get a listing, happens to be a great property. It makes sense. They want out, then maybe I can buy it. And it goes back to the whole program we did in February last year about the property locator. Instead of having an individual go out there and do it that's not licensed, but have a licensed agent go out there and do it, that has a lot more value.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So if you're a homeowner...
It makes sense in theory, yes.
Yeah. If you're a homeowner, somebody knocks on your door, says, hey, I'd like to come in and look at your house and see if I can give you a fair value price or whatever to see if you want to sell it. But if you have somebody come and knock on your door, say, Remax or Next Stage or whatever, there's a lot more credibility behind one person versus the other person.
There is credibility.
And the whole insurance part and ethics. And, this person will be tried.
It always depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Because I get some homeowners, they're like, hey, I don't want to talk to the agent. And I get some homeowners, they're like, help me. I'm like, so yeah, I definitely see where you can have more credibility if an agent is asking them if they want to sell their house. So yeah. So
okay, so what do you think about like what I'm working on? How this thing from where we were in January, when we started doing the training stuff, and then now we got into this realty side of things, and now we're basically training agents. And we're still teaching a lot of the investors, but we're telling the investors, hey, if you really want to get in the game, and you really want to get referral fees from agents, well, agent could give you a referral fee if you're another agent. But if you're not, if you're just a wholesaler, technically the agent cannot pay you. Right. So it's just a matter of connecting the dots. And a lot of investors that are out there, these wholesalers, if they go get their license, it makes more sense for them. Because they got access to the back end, they got access to training, they got access to, referral fees from other agents. There's like different doors open up. Right. And that's what I'm trying to teach a lot of these wholesalers and these little investors out there. That's an option.
It's definitely an option.
Yeah. And you should consider that because that gives you a lot more, it reduces the risk in a lot of ways. And it gives you additional income.
It reduces risk, but it also elevates risk. Because once you're licensed, there's certain things you just can't do and say.
Yeah. There's a gray area.
There's a give and take to it. Yeah. Because there's been certain properties I just walked away from. Like, you know what? I see what y'all got going on, but I personally can't be involved. If I wasn't licensed,
and that's a good thing, though.
Great. But I'm licensed, and
yeah, but that's a good thing. You don't want to get yourself into any type of bad. I mean, if you know there's something wrong with the house,
it's definitely borderline.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you up to?
Yeah.
And there was a rash of them when HUD had their fire sale and they dropped the prices, and I think they were like 40% of what HUD was previously listing them for. People picked up all kinds of properties. They got them under contract. They wanted to wholesale them. And I ran into 3 people in the same week. They were like, oh, well, we're not selling the property. We're selling the company that owns the property. I'm like, you can't do that. Did your broker tell you can do that? Like, that's not even legal. You can't circumvent HUD like that. They will find you. So some people don't necessarily have the broker training that they should have. But these were licensed agents who put this stuff in the MLS like this. I was like, you can't be serious.
Yeah. No, well, that's going to happen regardless. It's just
right. I'm like,
people don't stay on top of all the laws, and like you said, a lot of the brokers, they don't understand the laws, and and they themselves are trying to survive. They themselves trying to get listings and buyers and put food on the table instead of worrying about everybody else.
Right.
So.
Which I still don't understand. My whole thing is this, bottom line, I just don't understand real estate agents that don't realize they need rental property.
Income.
You're a real estate agent. I mean, and people get mad and they're like, oh, well, because I generally go to California from December to March. I'm like, look, if you work with me, you're an investor, make sure you get your crap by Thanksgiving because I'm leaving. The only reason I'm not leaving is my mom retired and moved in with me. Now I'm like, I can't.
Well, I mean, a lot of agents got spoiled. A lot of them got spoiled around this time of the year. And they've made $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and they got to a certain level.
They did nothing with it. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they feel like they don't want to come back and deal with the renters and stuff. So, but you know what? The strong will survive, and the people will do what they need to do during this time, and they'll get
I'm
to
like,
it.
renters are consistent money, and I run into realtors all the time. I'm like, you've been doing this for 20 years. How do you plan to retire?
Well, okay, tell me. So, in Realty Direct, so I'm trying to still understand, how's the Realty Direct model different than Next Age? I mean, so you mentioned there's no fees.
No.
Right? So
I don't take a cut in commission for the multi-level building.
Okay, so you don't take it. So what does that mean? Take no cut.
No cut.
To commission.
So, okay, if you sell, from what I understood from the presentation, if an agent has a commission of $7,000, what they did, which was truly to their detriment, is that they tell you in the first 2 minutes, okay, if you're with another company and you're at an 80-20 split, your commission will be $7,000. And then they let you know with us that same commission would be $6,200. So basically, they take a little piece from everybody to make up for the multi-level part.
Next Stage?
Yes.
Okay.
What is happening is that spreads out, and you tend to be compensated if you have people under you, but your bottom people aren't going to be compensated for that loss in income. So what's going to happen is your bottom layer, you're going to have to rebuild constantly because there's no floor underneath it. They're going to fall out because they're like, okay, well, I was making a certain amount before, and until they are able to recruit other agents under them who are actually producing, in reality, they're taking a cut in pay. So if they don't join Next Age with producing agents already established under them, they're going to take a cut in pay. And that comes to be an issue with certain people because they're like, okay, well, am I going to be able to recruit 3 agents who are producing in a reasonable amount of time? Whereas, with Realty Direct, and I've been with them all these years, and I haven't recruited other people because I'm like, it's just not my thing. But and you're vested for life. That's the other thing. After 3 years with Realty Direct, whatever money is generated by people that you bring on, even if you leave Realty Direct, you still get it. You don't have to remain with them to keep the levels that you get people deep. So
you don't have to remain as an active person.
You don't have to remain with Realty Direct, period. You could
go to non-active status.
You can go to Remax and still get your money.
Okay, so you can switch offices.
Yes, you can switch offices. You can give up your license.
So whatever you build,
it's still yours.
It still comes to you.
As long as you've been with them 3 years.
As long as you've been there 3 years.
Yep.
But so if you just been there 3 years and you just hung your license and haven't done any activity, you would still qualify for this?
No, but you wouldn't qualify with it for Next Stage either, because you have to have the agents under you.
Yeah. So, but also here in 3 years, if you got 10, 20, 30, 40 agents, whatever,
right,
and they're doing activity,
yes,
and you leave, you still get a percentage.
You still get the same money that you would get from your team even after you're gone.
So the percentage that you get, do you know what that percentage is?
Yeah, it's fairly high too. It's like it's something like 10%.
10%?
For the first level, it's high because Realty Direct has no overhead. They literally have no overhead. So they are like, so what?
The first level is 10%?
Yeah. It's somewhere between 5 and 10, and everything else is 5.
And then second level and third level is 5.
Yeah.
5.
It's high. And that's actually one of the reasons that they asked me. They're like, oh, you aren't participating in like the building your team thing and all of that. And I'm like, at some point I may when I switch to just coaching other agents. But right now it doesn't really make me any difference because I have my rental properties. So I'm going to have my consistent income whether I put a lot of time into bringing on other agents or not. But for agents that are looking to have that income regardless, that want to bring on other agents, that's one of their biggest concerns. It's like, okay, when I get 20 people to join Realty Direct and I leave Realty Direct, am I going to still get the money from their production with every other company? No, you don't get it.
Okay, so, but Realty Direct, isn't that tied to an office, like a branch? Like, let's say the office downstairs. That's one franchise. So it's
that's
all
not one
company.
franchise. What it is interestingly enough, it's almost like Next Age they know the Realty Direct model, which is kind of funny. All of Realty Direct is one huge company. When you buy a franchise, you basically get the same thing. Like you get the ability to still add agents in other states and all kind of other stuff. But what Realty Direct managed to do is that especially, I guess, in this area, in buying the franchise, Wendy is our principal broker. There are now, when I joined with Realty Direct, they had one office and it was out in Ashburn. So, location, number one. Number two, they only had one office and they had like 500-600 agents. So, if you're not paying rent, like Realty Direct and Prudential have opposite strategies. Prudential Carruthers wants to have as many offices blanketed across 5 states as they possibly can. But a lot of people don't realize is in terms of processes and driving your separate teams, Prudential Carruthers, they own LendingTree.com. They own the Yahoo, they are the designated realty provider for Yahoo in this area. They bought that. They bought like the AOL keywords for real estate. So if you start your real estate search on AOL or Yahoo, you are automatically redirected to a Prudential Carruthers office. That's just how.
So they were smart. They got in. They positioned themselves.
And they own LendingTree.com. So if you start your real estate search with a house search or a loan search, they have you either way. So what their thing is, hey, if we have more offices in more places, then we can basically get all of the business. So they went with an office approach. Realty Direct went the opposite way. They went with an agent approach. They're like, you know what? We don't need more offices. We need more agents. What that kind of creates is you don't have more locations. You don't have the rent. If you look at the rent for the individual Prudential Carruthers offices, like just the Capitol Hill office is $10,000 a month for rent, period, before they make any money. Now they're renting the upstairs because of that. So what happens is you increase your overhead as soon as you increase your offices. Realty Direct's thing is like, hey, we'll provide you with every single thing you need. Instead of going into offices, they went into systems where we don't need to call an admin for our flyers. We order them online. It goes through a company. We pay like $5 and they show up at your house in 2 days. We don't have to pay for our posters. All of the things that you would normally call a secretary to do, there's an online company that does it. We can either design our own stuff, our websites, what have you, upload them. It comes to you. There's no issues.
So you can order as many brochures and posters and business cards without having to pay a dime? They pay for all of that stuff?
We pay for shipping.
You pay for shipping.
Yeah. You get, I I don't pay for my business cards,
Mm-hmm.
but over, I think, 100 in 6 months, I have to pay.
Right, but so if I order, let's say, I don't know, 500 of these open house flyers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, here's the design, here's the photos. Just do it and send it to me by Friday.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to pay for it?
I pay shipping, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. So what happens is they have that.
And when you say no fees, you mean no fees.
Right. They have the agreement with the company because what happens is Realty Direct doesn't pay rent. They pay rent for the building downstairs and the building in Ashburn, and I'm not sure, there may be one more, but I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So if you increase from 1,000 agents to 2,000 agents, but you're not paying any more rent than you were paying for your 1,000 agents, which is already minimized because they don't come to the office as it is. Most real estate offices are empty, and Realty Direct realize that. People do not come into your real estate office to find a house. They don't.
Yeah.
They do in certain locations, and that's what Prudential focuses on. Prudential focuses on Old Town Alexandria, where people walk around and they come into the office, or Capitol Hill, or Georgetown, or Uptown on Wisconsin Avenue. Those are areas where people walk around and they come into your office.
Right.
Other areas that are very driven, nobody is walking around Fort Washington like, hey, let me stop in to the Long and Foster on 210 and see if they got a list of houses. A few, but by and far, no.
It's on the internet.
So it's wasted rent.
Right.
So if they don't pay that rent, they can pay all this other stuff. Because if you would normally spend $10,000 a month in rent for a location downtown, and you don't pay that $10,000 a month, and you set that aside for agents that might want flyers or brochures or listing signs or lot boxes or what have you, you're probably going to come on the positive side, because if the agents aren't producing, you don't have to provide them with that. And you only have to provide it for the agents that are. And the chunk of what is taken out of what you set aside is not much.
Well, if everything that you're saying, that's a lot of value. That's a lot of value.
It is a lot.
Then you should be out there sharing that message with everybody as possible. To
I should
build the
be.
team.
I should be. I'm just not. I should be. But I'm just not, because...
Yeah, because if all those things, I mean, like you said, if all those things are 100% accurate, well, shit, then it should be easy to pull people from RE/MAX that are paying desk fees and office fees.
And that's the thing that
and all
people...
Foster.
I tell them, I don't have a desk fee. And people look at me like, you work for a 100% company that doesn't have a desk fee.
And you get 105%. And you don't pay anything.
And my thing is, the other thing is, the only fee that Realty Direct hits you with is that your first 6 deals a year are $75.25.
The first 6 deals
Yes.
that you do a year.
They can be rentals.
Right.
There are agents with our company that front load their rentals. And they'll do 6 rentals in January and February to make 100% on their house sales. Either way, Realty Direct is going to get some money, because if you think about your first 6 deals a year, even if they're rentals, even if you rented $2,000 properties, and you got 50% of that because they're not charging you anything above, like if you want to charge your people above what the MLS asks, then fine. If you don't, then don't. But once you do that, if you do your first 6 and they only get $250 from you, basically they still come up with $1,500 for your first 6 deals. Really, there aren't that many agents that are going to use in excess of $1,500 in marketing materials.
Well, I mean, real estate is nothing but marketing. If you're not marketing,
Yeah, but they're
you're
not
doing
going to
anything.
use paper marketing materials. It's digital. Most people use digital marketing materials. So what Realty Direct ends up paying for in actual online orders for flyers and signs and stuff is not usually going to be $1,500. Plus, this is multiplied over thousands of agents.
Yeah, most agents are only doing 3 to 4 transactions.
Exactly.
Right now.
So most agents, if they're not getting to their full 6 transactions, then Realty Direct is getting the money from every transaction. I'm a little bit different, because they're like, okay, well, how do you get buyers that just pop out of the ceiling? I'm like, well, one, I work with mostly investors. People don't realize that when you work with investors, you run into a lot of renters. A lot of renters.
Yeah, because they want to buy and hold long term and stuff.
Well, my thing is, I get renters that are calling me about the properties that the investors are renting out, those renters automatically, after a certain amount of time, turn into buyers. So now I get to re-rent the property and I get to sell them a house. And most of the deals I do don't even make it to the MLS. So once again, those, they involve Realty Direct, but if there's no MLS number, it goes on my record with Realty Direct, but it doesn't go in the MLS. Like, if you look up my MLS number, you get, I think, 4 or 5 rentals for this year and no sales because my properties don't make it to the MLS. So,
but Realty Direct still adds that as a transaction.
They add it as a transaction, and what happens is after the first 6, I make the whole thing. So, for agents, like you said, for agents that are only doing 6, perfect. And Realty Direct knows that. How many agents are doing more than the 6?
I mean, in this market, they're not.
And my thing is,
especially if they're even if they're full time. If they're part time, they're definitely not doing 6.
Right.
You know, if they're full time, they'd be less than doing 6 to 10.
Right.
You know, so okay, so 75-25, and then after on your 7th deal, that's when you go 100% on the 7th deal. Okay.
And my thing is, if I recruit people to Realty Direct, then I get 5% of what they make. But what happens is they don't take it out of the 75% that would go to the agent. It comes out of the 25% that would go to Realty Direct. So it becomes 75, 20, and 5.
So when you get your residual on your first layer or your second layer,
right? Like, let's just go with 5%. If it's at 5, it doesn't come out of the agent's cut. It comes out of the Realty Direct cut.
The 25%. So you get 5% of
their 25.
Of their 25.
No. You get 5% of the whole deal.
Oh, you get 5% of the 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
They end up with 20. It goes from being a 75-25 to being a 75-25.
75-20 and then 5.
Right. For every single person that you recruit.
Okay, so then basically you're getting 5%.
Right.
Of 95%. Because you get 5 of it, right?
Yeah. No, you get 5% of the whole 100%.
Of the whole 100%.
Yes. It's not 5% of their split. It's no smoke and mirrors to it whatsoever. It seems like there should be, but if that agent does a deal, the agent gets 75% of it, Realty Direct gets 20%, and you get 5%. You don't have to have been involved in the deal. You just introduce them to Realty Direct.
And the 5% stays all the way down to how many? 5 levels?
Yeah.
So on the 4th level and the 5th level, it doesn't change. It doesn't go down any.
No.
It stays 5 all the way down.
And they may have changed that recently. Like I said, I don't recruit other agents.
Yeah.
So they may have changed that. But in looking at the best use of my time, it wasn't in recruiting other agents.
Right. Well,
because my thing is, other agents that want to do better should be looking for another company. So if agents call me and they're like, you know what, I am not making it here, you know, something's got to give, or just in the course of conversation, I'm like, why are you borrowing money from people? Then yeah, I'll let them know about Realty Direct. I'll send an email, and see, that's the other thing. I don't have to do the recruiting, and I noticed that with Next Stage. Like, you don't have to do the recruiting. They have the presentation. They go over to talk to the person, Michael. I'm like spaced out on his last name. They go talk to Michael. You know, he has added consistently about 500 to 600 agents a year. So it's one of those things where if an agent is interested in switching to a better company, you send them to him. It's done.
And he's like a recruiter.
Yeah, that is all he does. So it's a team thing. You know, like you said, everybody's got their part. We have our principal broker who does agent stuff.
Right.
Her partner does training in terms of marketing, in terms of Craigslist, in terms of teaching them how to use the internet and social media and videos and all of that stuff. And then you have the person that does the recruiting. You have the person that does financial stuff. She's taken on 2 new brokers, so that we have a person just from Maryland, because I guess when I started there weren't that many Maryland agents. And in the time that I've been with Realty Direct, she's like, you know what? You call me with things I never thought I would hear of. Like, I encounter things I never thought I would hear of. And so it's really crazy. But even in taking on extra brokers, it's because their overhead is not, like, they can offer you that because they're not paying any rent. They can take 20% of every deal that every agent ever makes and be fine with it because they're not paying any rent. They're not paying pretty much anything. We don't pay errors and omissions as agents, But I'm sure they're only paying but so much more for their blanket policy. Because if you have 2,000 agents, you can easily say 50% of them may or may not have any business and or one deal a year. So you're still going to get the 20% of their deal. But you can always reason it out with your errors and omissions people. We're not going to take a big risk because these people aren't doing much business. So they're...
Yeah, because like I could get errors and omissions for the next age. And I would pay $900 a year.
Right.
And that would cover all of my agents. So if I had 10 or 100 or 200, it would cover them.
Right.
So yeah, now that's a benefit. I could say, well, you can come here and there's no.
Yeah, definitely do that one because certain agents are paying $300, $400, $500 a year for their own errors and omissions. That was a huge. Two things when I decided to switch companies. One was errors and omissions because mine was $500 a year. The other one was technology fee. I had a technology fee of $700 just because they built a website for me. And I'm like, I build my own websites anyway, so why in the world would I even continue to pay that?
Yeah.
So
the technology
right off the top, I
fees,
saved $1,200 a year.
Right. Desk fees.
Exactly. Errors and omissions. If you
fees.
You would never believe it, but there are agents that need to not pay for their business cards.
Well, no, but
it's something they can't always afford.
But the thing is, here's the thing. Most people, they suck shit. That's the truth. Okay. So if you just give something, give everybody free stuff. I'm going to give free business card, free this. People got to have skin in the game. Mm-hmm. They got to have some skin in the game. If they don't have no skin in the game, and you just basically said anybody and everybody come here, then one thing that you've done as an owner of the business, you've also created a risk. If you just let anybody and everybody come and work under your business name.
Mm-hmm. But see, the other thing is, they do have a policy that if you don't do... Actually, what they do is they don't screen, they train. They'll accept anybody, but if you don't do at least 6 deals a year, then every bit of paperwork that you put out has to be reviewed. So...
That's more administrative overhead.
Well, no, it goes directly to the brokers. There's one for each state now. Right. And so, like, if I want to write an offer, and I'm a new agent, and they don't know if I'm able to write an offer, then I write up my offer. I mean, the market now is conducive to this. So, I get together with my client, we decide what we want to do. I write up the offer, and I let my clients know. In 2 days, we'll get together again. That's when you'll sign the offer. That's when you'll give me your check. And that's when your offer will be delivered to the other agent. You call the agent. You let them know, I'm bringing an offer to you. Today's Wednesday. I'll have it to you by Friday. Wednesday, you go home. You write up your offer. You email it to the broker. He's going to read it. And it's funny because I actually sent him one just to see, like, were they still reviewing them. I was like, look, I got an offer. It was for a property that was an estate sale. I was like, there's a couple questions I got because it is an estate sale and because there are some things that are not quite right with this property. I wrote up the offer. I sent it over to him. He sent it back within 24 hours. He's like, perfect, not a problem. Don't forget to include. I think I'd forgotten the agency disclosure, which I'm like, wow, I'm spacing. So he sent it back to me. He's like, don't forget the disclosure. Because I'd actually checked that I checked that I represented the sellers instead of the buyers. And I was like, I'm sorry, I messed that all up. And he was like, you know what, that's funny. And he just put a little ha-ha, and that was it. So if you're a new agent, the way they minimize their risk is that everything that you send out has to be reviewed.
Yeah, and that's what a broker's job is anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. They have to review it anyway.
Right.
So
because the brokers get paid off the transaction.
Exactly.
So that's the job is to be the police to make sure the quality control.
Exactly. That keeps them out of a lot of drama because new agents who, like you said, they haven't been doing anything or they're not familiar or they may not have taken the latest classes. It has to be reviewed before they can have it signed by the client. Listings have to be reviewed. All of that stuff has to be reviewed. So if it's a new agent, let's say the guy has never done anything, but they come in, they mentor under you. You kind of do the first 3 transactions for them or help them with them. So do you get a fee for that? I don't.
Like that? So
it's not conducive to my business to do that.
Because you're taking your time to help them.
Well, no. My thing is, it's not... It doesn't make sense for me to charge them.
Let's say you recruit me to come in.
Right.
I come under you.
Right.
Okay. I'm new.
Right.
I got him as a buyer.
Okay.
I'm like, hey, listen, I'm excited. I got my first buyer. Here it is. You know, so you're working with me through the transaction
Right.
to make sure everything's done. And, hey, go back to him, get this signed. Go back to him, get this initial. So, hey, what do you think? Boom. So it's like a mentor relationship until we get to the settlement.
Yep.
I know at some agencies, like at Weicker or Long Foster or some RE/MAX, they will say, okay, you'll be the agent under this, and you'll get paid part of the commission.
Right.
So is that the same thing?
No. Because the thing is, I didn't start in the office that was like that. And when I started, I didn't realize that I was actually in the number one office. No one told me that. I was a new agent. I didn't think to ask. It didn't make me any difference. No. Even like when I first started in real estate back in 2000, Prudential Capitol Hill, I didn't realize I was with the number one office. I didn't realize that out of 1,500 agents working for the company, number one and number three in the entire company were in my office.
Hey, Miss Washington. Oh, okay. I didn't know you was here. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem. And it's 12:10 anyway. Yeah. But I didn't realize that they were in my office, and they helped me for free.
Yeah.
They were like, look, it benefits all real estate agents if you're successful and you do good. It makes us all look better. And they helped me for free. And, I mean, there were times when it was after 5 o'clock, and I'm like, the market is, and I'm like, what do I do? And I would come upstairs, and I'd be like, John, what is going to happen? Like, even in 2005, I wasn't so good at writing offers. And I would give him an offer, and he was like, nobody's going to accept this. He's like, okay, look, throw this out, pull it up, let's redo it right now. He sat down, he helped me. And so I know I've talked to agents that were like, oh, my office was competitive, and I never had to deal with that. I never had to deal with agents stabbing me in the back or acting, like, oh, I'm not going to help you because you're competition. So it helped me realize that even if you're getting your 5%, why take anything more? Because it's to your best interest to help them get on their feet as soon as possible, which isn't going to happen when you're taking money from them. Yeah. So it was one of those things where I was like, wow, when I think back of people that helped me for free, I'm like, I couldn't pay for it. And so I don't charge anybody else.
Yeah, no, people will do that, but some companies have this mentor protege relationship, and it's usually for the first 2 or 3 transactions until you know what you're doing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And that's why I didn't join those companies. That was why I went with, a company where they guaranteed me that the office manager would help me no matter what, and I wouldn't have to pay a commission part. That's the whole reason I picked Prudential to start with, because they were like, look, you will get hand-holding step by step. Our manager is also a real estate lawyer, and he's also a licensed broker, and he will help you for free. And that was why I went with them. Because new agents can't pay that. New agents can't take that. Like, if you go from a job where you're working 40 hours a week and you're getting a steady paycheck to a job where you may or may not get paid, you already got a little bit of an issue. And then when people take part of your commission, you're like, oh.
Yeah. No, that's right.
So that's why I didn't go with them.
Well, okay, no, this is good, because I wanted to, like I said, I'm new with this here.
Next Age is a really good offer. Like I said, it's a really good offer for agents who are at a company that works on a commission split that's graded. And where they have to, start at 50 and work their way up and take a step back. It's a really good offer for them. And it's a really good offer for people that want to spend their time solely on recruiting. And the only reason that I don't spend my time on recruiting is, like you said, most agents are lucky to do 6 deals a year. And my whole thing is, if I recruit 1 a year, I'm good. If I run into one person a year who's like, I hate my company, I need some help.
But what they do is they want you to spend 80% of your time on producing.
Right.
And they want you to spend 20% of your time on recruiting.
Right.
So they understand you have to produce, that's number one. Number two is you have to recruit.
Right.
So their goal thing is, if you can recruit, let's just say 10 people in 12 months, but your main focus is, generating business, doing business is your main focus. But the recruiting aspect of it, so let's just say this guy does 2 transactions, he does 1, he does 5, or whatever the case is, but you got 10 of these suckers.
Right.
Overall, let's just say they end up doing 25 transactions overall, right?
Right.
But now you're still making your money here because you're still doing your core thing.
Yes.
But now you're also spending Saturdays, weekends, an hour or 2 a day, just trying to build some stuff. But now you got this additional income that's coming in, and that's the model. It's like do what you do best.
Yeah.
Deal with your buyers, deal with your sellers, make the transactions happen, bring in the money so you can survive.
Right.
But also spend some time building your team.
Right.
So it's not all dependent upon you, but now you have income coming in from them as well as you.
Right.
So if these people could bring you additional, $500 or $1,500 a month, based on their activity, that's still decent money for not doing anything.
Yeah.
But you're still doing your thing. You're still dealing with your buyers and your tenants and your landlords. You're still building your database. You're still working with your investors. But also, that 5 goes to 15, 15 goes to 2,000, 2,000 goes to 25. That's where this money comes in. That's your Vegas money.
Right.
That's your money to go to North Carolina. So
I financed that boy's little adult company. That's going to be my Vegas money.
But that's where the biggest added value is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because this company is new in so many ways, that they're open up to a lot of technology.
Right.
So everything's through the back end.
Yeah.
So you actually get a system that everything you talked about in terms of business cards, marketing flyers, they have companies in places already.
Yep.
You could call them and say, hey, I want these flyers, but you have to pay.
Okay.
It's not free. But I think that maybe like the first 25 or something are free. But if you want 1,000 of these, then you got to pay something.
And I do know that Realty Direct does that after, like if you haven't done a certain amount of deals, they do kind of say, okay, well, your first whatever. But like you said, it's all in the back end. They had a little templates, and I'm like, even my mom could operate this stuff, so I'm sure it's easy.
And that's what they've done. They've made it easy for us. And you're right, you're not going to get the new people. Now, the new people that don't have any money at all, well, they could be referral agents. They could start recruiting and start getting $300, $400, $500 a month because they may end up bringing in a superstar. And he may end up bringing somebody, and all of a sudden they got $500, $600 a month coming in. Now they got the money to go live as an agent. They can pay their dues. And now they're doing transactions as well as developing their team.
Right.
So there's different ways of doing it. But for me overall, I thought, I looked at the Exit, I looked at the Remax, I looked at the Long and Foster, I looked at the different models, and I really like this model in a lot of ways. I did not look at the Realty Direct.
That Next Age is actually the closest model I've ever seen to Realty Direct. So apparently, Realty Direct model itself was slightly ahead because Next Age is now. It's interesting that I'm with Realty Direct. So to me, Next Age is very much like them, and I think they will evolve in time with more money and things like that to be closer to Realty Direct than to be closer to Remax and the more traditional companies. Yeah. And I think that the more traditional companies are going to evolve into this model.
They have to.
Especially in terms of...
Because the brick and mortars, you said it, they're going away. Nobody's in the offices.
Right.
Agents don't come in. Agents work off of the virtual networks.
Right.
So those models are dying out.
Yeah.
And that's why models like this exist and they're getting fast. Like I think it was the National Association of Realtors. They made the list of one of the fastest growing franchises.
Yeah, and they definitely
So they're growing. They're getting
right. Because agents don't need a desk; they need a conference room and a copy machine.
And
they got a desk at their house, and honestly, I prefer to work at my house because of the tax incentives.
Yeah.
So I can deduct my electric bill if I work at home. You can't deduct your desk fee most of the time.
I really appreciate you coming in because I really wanted to understand. And you gave me a lot of feedback, which I appreciate that because. I'm just trying to put it all together in terms of my investment world, my training, my coaching, bringing on the agents, what the agents need, what the agents are looking for, how to make it attractive for some of them to come on, but also not to give away the farm, but to give them enough where they have to have skin in the game as well to come in.
Right.
Because there's a lot of value that I'm adding to the Next Stage by tying BrickFront properties to it. So if you look at what Realty Direct does, and then you look at what BrickFront Property does, we're two different companies.
Yeah.
But if you look at what Next Age does and what Realty Direct does, they're pretty similar.
They're very similar.
So then if you take if you take Next Stage and BrickFront, you tie those two together, now you just added a whole bunch of value
to
this area, which Realty Direct or Remax don't have.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to generate to show that agents and brokers.
One of my questions is in terms of lending. Like, does Next Age have a built-in lending resource? Because you kind of want to find a lending resource for your agents. Like, my thing is Realty Direct preferred lender that is assigned to us is Bank of America. Not my first choice, which is why I work with someone else. I work with Westtown up in Bethesda because they have underwriters right in the office, and if my clients are denied, they will actually let my clients have a meeting with the underwriters to find out why and what they can change. And I really like that. Bank of America's never going to do that. Their underwriters get death threats. So it's not a job I would take. But that's something that I would also build in for your agents, is because new agents don't have a lending resource and they have no idea who to call or who to work with.
In terms of referrals, like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, SunTrust. I mean, we have like 6-7 companies that are not tied to next stage.
Right.
But we say, here's companies that you can go and talk with. Here's the people we work with, these loan officers, they're good. We could do something. That's what we do now. We have relationships like that.
Like, just in terms of,
but not internal relationships with next stage. They're not lending on.
Okay. Because if you can work out something with a lender, it's definitely in your benefit. Because some of the new agents at Realty Direct that don't have any business, like you were saying, if they call Christian and they tell Christian, hey, I want to come sit in Bank of America with you for a certain amount of time, then he'll get you a chair and you can just sit in the Bank of America. And agents have gotten a crazy amount of business on this. I'm like, you can't be kidding me. They sit next to the lender, and when people come in and they end up needing to sell or they're inquiring about a loan, he's like, do you have a real estate agent to assess the value of your house? They're like, no, you're sitting there and you get the deal.
That makes sense.
So it's like, if you can work out something with a lender where next age agents would have a little bit of a preference, or they could offer a little bit more to the clients. Like the guy I work with at Westtown has a program that's only for Westtown affiliates, but they can get a loan down to 580. Interesting. It's like 6%, and if they can hit 620, it goes down to 4%. But he can get them a loan at 580, whereas some agents can't get a loan for buyers at 580. So if you can work out a lender that will provide an incentive for your agent, some little something where they can get a little more business than everybody else, that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, let me go check out these people in the lobby.
Yeah. And I need to send you an email anyway, because I have a couple of investors. They're looking, I don't know if they're looking for a partnership or